Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to the audience joining us for another session of HPP Innovation Week 2024. Today's session is titled Outsourcing HPP, Working with a HPP Third Service Provider. Today's session will be interesting for those that have always been interested in leveraging HPP technology, but it's been a barrier of investing in HPP equipment, or for those that are wanting to get started in using the technology without having to put up front capital investment. We have what we call HPP tollers for those companies looking to get started and leverage those services through another party. So before I jump into explaining what the tolling model is, I kind of wanted to take a step back and introduce HPP technology once again. HPP is an alternative pasteurization technology to what thermal pasteurization is. It essentially is a cold pasteurization that uses high pressure and cold water to offer the same benefits that pasteurization offers without the negative effects and the organoleptic effects that thermal technology has. So through both high pressure and cold water, we're able to achieve a development of a fresher product, extend the shelf life dramatically, and most importantly, preserve a lot of the nutritional properties of the products. The technology works by loading already packaged products into carriers or baskets. Those baskets are then entered into what we call the vessel. That vessel is then filled with low pressure water through plugs on each side of the vessels. Then through what we call intensifiers, we apply an immense amount of pressures up to 87,000 PSI. And this pressure is typically applied for about 180 seconds, so 3 minutes. During this holding time stage, we're essentially compressing the already packaged product up to 15%. And during this compression, we're inactivating a lot of the microorganisms and pathogenic bacteria such as Salmonella, Listeria, E. coli, as well as spoilage microorganisms. And by doing so, we're able to extend the shelf life of products. And since it is product that's already packaged, we're preventing any recontamination. So we're ensuring the food safety of this set of product. Once that holding time is complete, we decompress. That basket then is removed from the other side of the machine, and you have what we call a full HPP cycle. So to touch a little bit about our Hiperbaric HPP global tolling network, it essentially is a number of companies. Let me take a step back. So what is HPP tolling? So HPP tolling is companies that offer the technology. So they own Hyperbaric HPP equipment and outsource the service to other companies. This is perfect for companies not looking to invest into equipment, that want a quick launch to market. They have seasonal products. And the good thing about the HPP tolling models that's available to companies of all sizes, both small and large. Typically, how the service works is companies pay by toll. So typically, that toll is a fee of per pound or per HPP cycle, what I just previously explained. And typically, these companies are shipping already the packaged product to these tollers. The products are already in their final packaging. They're storing it in cold storage, then processing when it's ready to be processed. And once processed, they're either returning that product to the customer or they're shipping it to the end consumer or wherever they want that product to be shipped out to. Aside from the specific HPP service, some companies do offer additional services, such as I already mentioned, cold storage. Other services include, kitting and assembly, date coding to certain products, distribution, and other services. The Hiperbaric HPP global tolling network consists of more than 60 HPP tolling facilities located globally. And today we actually have the pleasure of speaking with one of these partners in our global tolling network by the name of HPP LA, based in Los Angeles, California. And before I hand it off to Shalako Denison with HPP LA, I did want to mention one of our pilot plan and HPP incubator services. These are both offered from our Miami, Florida office that I'm based out of, and our headquarters in Spain and Burgos. It essentially consists of a team of food scientists that extend everything from product development, consulting, to HPP packaging recommendations, HPP obviously testing, recommending processing parameters. Like I mentioned earlier in the session, finding that perfect balance of pressure and holding time is very important when designing the perfect parameters for products. We also provide services around food safety regulations and guidance with validation and shelf life studies. All these services are fully complementary, any size of company. So if there's a particular product that you do want to run through the machine, it's simply reaching out to our food science team by the name, which you can reach out to at apps, so that's APPS, at hyperbaric.com, and we'd be happy to coordinate that testing. We basically help you get ramped up and ready so that you can start working with some of our partners in our global tolling network. With that being said, if you have any questions for me, you can feel free to reach out to me at a.zapata@hyperbaric.com. And with that, I would like to hand it off to Shalako Denison with HPPLA, one of our tolling partners. Hey, Shalako.
Thank you, Anthony. Hi there. Thank you for that introduction. And yeah, I'd love to talk about, from our perspective as an HPP tolling provider, what advantages that we can offer to different customers. So I will jump right in. First, just to introduce kind of who I am. I'm one of the owners and founders of HPPLA. It's one of the members of the tolling network for Hiperbaric, and we provide tolling to mostly local companies in the Los Angeles area, but the things that we offer and the advantages we see really apply throughout the whole network. So we were founded in 2017, so we're now coming up on about 7 years of experience doing this. And originally we were actually a co-packer and HPP provider, which gives us some insight into some of the challenges on the manufacturing step before the HPP processing or tolling step. And the two founders are myself, pictured on the right, more of the science background, and then Kamala Shoemaker is the co-founder and co-partner who has an extensive manufacturing history and she helps bring that experience to small and growing brands who can use some of her experience and apply it to their developing products. But moving on from who we are to what the advantages of HPP tolling are, the first one is that really by using a toller, you get all of the benefits of the HPP process. It's organic compatible. You can avoid the use of heat, chemicals, or radiation for most products. It's been proven in a variety of food types that it can preserve more nutrients than some other pasteurization methods, and extends the shelf life, which is beneficial to pretty much everyone who wants to sell food products. And the last part that is not to be overlooked is that you can provide pasteurization in the final packaging, which can sometimes streamline your operations. So that's the main benefit, is it gives you access to all of the other benefits that HPP provides. But in terms of the actual tolling operation, it lets you, as someone who has a brand or has a product, focus on the part that you're passionate about, whether that's expanding your creative or advertising efforts, or really focusing on developing different products. You can devote your time and your energy and your attention and your money to that, and leave the actual um, uh, running of the machine and the maintenance of that to someone else. The financial benefit is that you can save some of the money that would go into purchasing a machine and running a machine, and devote that to some of your other efforts, um, which is what a lot of different smaller brands want to do. They don't have necessarily all the time, attention, and capital to devote to all the different pieces along the chain of production, and so they'd rather someone else take some slice of that, and that's where we can step in. Another benefit that both Hyperbaric and usually your HPP toller will provide is we can stay on top of the local regulations and the local requirements, and help guide you through that. Um, and you can focus on some of the other things. So that's the secondary benefit, is that it lets you focus quite a bit more on what you're passionate about. In terms of us, we have a location that is on the West Coast in Los Angeles, one of the most populated metro areas in the United States. And if you're producing food in that area, you often want to begin the shelf life preservation process as soon as possible. So we're very conveniently located along the major highways within the Los Angeles system. And that can sometimes shave down your time from production at your co-manufacturing or manufacturing facility, and getting it to our facility where we can extend the shelf life, which can cut down sometimes on some of the transportation cost. In terms of scheduling, both for us at HPPLA and mini co-packers, we can work with smaller providers who do not necessarily have set production schedules, or need a little bit of flexibility by offering spot scheduling. Now, if you're a larger provider, or prefer a longer term contract with set production times and set processing times, we can also accommodate that. But it's a little bit less common to be able to accommodate some of those smaller runs, and especially when a brand is getting up and running, there can be various production delays, or things can take a bit longer than anticipated, and we can really help with that by being accommodating. The other thing that smaller toll processors will can sometimes offer, such as ourselves, is that we don't have a minimum order quantity. So sometimes brands want to test out in person and do not necessarily want to ship to another HPP provider, and we can offer that as well, and just see how the outcome is after processing, if all of the characteristics that you want in your final product, if those are maintained. And so that's another thing that we can provide before you go through the investment of getting machine, and all of the challenges around that. And in addition, HPP tollers can often schedule you in where we can process quite quickly and get you fast turnaround from when you produce to when we begin the pasteurization process and extending that shelf life, and then when it's available for pickup to its next destination along the chain. Um, for us, we use the Hyperbaric 135, which is one of the machines offered by Hyperbaric. It has one of the fastest throughput rates, which helps us meet those quick turnaround times. The larger machines can run more at one time, but in general, this is more than sufficient for smaller customers. And Hyperbaric has launched a service which is going to be very valuable to many customers, that can help with the shelf life testing and the validation testing. But one thing that a toll provider often will be able to help you with is also local contacts, in case you want to connect with someone locally rather than shipping, to help you get up and running for newer products. For the larger customers, often they will have multiple products and multiple brands, but may want to start with a smaller run of a product that might be HPP compatible, and we can help them get up and running with their new product as well. Um, Also, for larger customers that have an organic certification already, the HPP process is organic certified, and so we can help you maintain that certification while preserving the shelf life, which some of the other methods, especially chemical methods, will knock you out of that certification. So that really covers the main advantages that an HPP toller can provide. Again, that's focus on what you care about, and its flexibility when you're building up a brand or building up a product, and then some expertise as well. When you're starting up and don't have that, we can offer that for you.
Hey, Shalako, I appreciate that presentation. I think some of the things that did catch my attention is that you guys, cater to those smaller companies. As Hyperbaric being on the other side, when we do receive some of these inquiries, we do get asked that question. Are there any MOQs? Who can provide those quick turnarounds? So it's good to know, and for the audience to know that HPPLA can be a good contact to enter the door, whether regardless of what size the company is. So I do appreciate that presentation. I did have a few questions for you. So let's say I am one of these small companies. How can I get started working with HPPLA? Can you walk us through that process of what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So most people who reach out to us come through either our website or our email system, which is hpplosAngeles.com, and then our service email is service.hppla@gmail.com. And the first email generally is, this is where we're at in this process. How can you help us continue on in the process and go a bit further? And then we jump in, and we'll help guide you through the various steps. The first part for smaller brands that often can slow them down or trip them up is to make sure that they are in line to get their certifications, whether that's their shelf life studies or their validation studies, in order to make sure that they are suited to sell in the U.S. market, for us. But then, in terms of actually working with us, it's pretty simple. We set you up to with an account and with our scheduling software, and then you tell us when you want to process, and we confirm.
Well, it's quite the smooth process. So thank you for that. And you being in the industry and working with different types of companies, what type of applications have you seen recently? Any interesting applications that you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we primarily were a juice co-packer, so that's the bulk of what we HPP process. But some other interesting things that people have been experimenting with are uh, raw seafood that is destined to go into soups, stews, dips, where it gets processed again, but as an initial shelf life preservation step. We've been working with some people for that. We've also been working with some newer companies that are looking at alternative meats, and seeing what this process can do for them in terms of extending shelf life or otherwise having positive characteristics for the end result. And then uh, there's maybe a few other applications that I'm hesitant to talk about actually right now that I'm thinking about it, but it has a broad range of applications. I would say one other one that I can mention, is that in terms of ready to eat breakfast meals, those tend to work out quite well with the HPP process and have excellent shelf life extension.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing those applications. It's also good to know you guys offer that juice co-packing. Is that cold press? Can you share a little bit more about that capability?
Yeah. So we have a couple different partners who will help with juice co-packing. We formally did it, and we just separated just a couple months ago into two separate businesses. But for cold pressed juices, we partner with a few people who can get from raw ingredient all the way through to product in its final packaging, and then it comes over to us, and then we both do the HPP pasteurization process, but then we'll also case pack and palletize so that it's ready to be shipped out to their next location.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, Shalako, that wraps up our session. I appreciate you sharing all these insights and sharing the services and capabilities offered by HPLA. If there's anyone in the audience, looking to get started in using the technology, especially if you're on the West Coast, primarily California, please reach out to Shalako, and I'm sure they'd be happy to help you. Well, once again, thank you,
Absolutely.
Shalako, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Take care.